Hey, welcome to episode 45 of Scar Bearers. That's a little Minnesota joke there. I'm Chris D.T. Gordon. It is a blessing to have you here with me today. And speaking of blessings, Nate and Britton Barron blessing me with their tech skills. If you want them to work with you on your creative projects, you can find them at Nate Barron. Well, folks, I am so excited that the book Blue Talks Presents Business, Life, in the Universe is finally out on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, or I think you could still go to BlueTalksBook.com. Volume 3 is the one that contains my story, but there are so many other tales of trial and triumph you should check out there. So again, it's Blue Talks Presents Business, Life, in the Universe, Volume 3. Please check it out on Amazon. Well, today I am joined by my new friend, Tylia Flores, or Ty for short. How are you, Ty?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. I'm just stomping on cerebral palsy today like I do every day.
Well, awesome. It's good to be consistent.
Yep, very good to be consistent. Thank you for having me, Chris. Huge fan of the pod.
It is my pleasure. I have been wanting to talk with you for some time now, and I'm so blessed to have this opportunity. So, you kind of hinted at it before, but something that we have in common is that we've both overcome struggles. And while my struggle has come in later in life, you have been handling your struggle all of your life. So why don't you go ahead and tell me about it. You start as far back as you want. I don't need toddler years, but if you want to get into that and talk about all that kind of stuff and your favorite Teletubby, you go right on ahead.
Okay, so for speaking of Teletubbies, my favorite Teletubby was Tinky Winky, I think her name was. But in the more positive side of things, I would say my cerebral palsy was a consolation prize. I came out of my mom's stomach about 6 months early. I only weighed 2 pounds, 3 ounces. Doctor said I would never make it, and I forgot to cancel my free trial after 7 days of having CP.
Sometimes that happens. You get busy and you forget to make that call or click that check mark on the email. Well, I'm so happy that you made it through. Wow, 6 months early.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So was there any kind of situation that prompted that, or you were just ready to go?
I was just ready to come out, I guess. Instead of being an October baby, I wanted to be a July baby. And God's like, well, if you want to come out a few months early, here's your consolation prize. But in all seriousness, I was born with spastic dysplasia, the most common form of cerebral palsy, and it affects my left side more than it does my right, but it has never affected my will or determination. I am the published author of James Ticking Time Bomb, and I'm currently working on a second book. Hopefully the title is going to be called Why I Advocate, and that goes more into focusing on why I advocate in my life experiences with CP.
All right. And I have interviewed a couple of fantastic people who have CP, and they, like you, have that will and determination to succeed. And I just absolutely love that. So your first book was called James and the Ticking Time Bomb. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And that actually, the idea for it actually started from a tragedy. When I was about 15 years old, I lost my friend Daniel to a brain tumor. He had cerebral palsy as well. And I needed to find a way to channel my grief. So one day, my wonderful stepdad decides to take me to Barnes & Noble, drinking a vanilla bean frappuccino in the teens section, and I envisioned myself writing a book. So when I came back home, I wrote the first sentence, and here we are today. And writing that book led me to wanting to write about cerebral palsy and advocating and express myself, because a lot of the times people don't know a lot about cerebral palsy. It's unfortunate, but it's our reality. And I wanted to expand my horizons more after the book was published.
So James, a ticking time bomb. Now, can you give me a synopsis of it?
Okay, so the spice of it is this. James had his son named Noah at the age of 13, and now he's diagnosed with cancer, and now he's trying to figure out what he wants to do before his time runs out.
Okay, so it's like a bucket list
A
type
bucket
story.
list.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, that where can someone find this book if they wanted
You can
to explore it for themselves?
you can find it on Amazon currently, the Kindle version. I know right now we're out of the paperback, but I'm working on it.
Okay. And I'm sorry, what was the name of the second book that you're currently working on?
Why I advocate.
Okay, and I think that is a more self-explanatory book. But yeah, so when you're writing it, what emotions come out when you are, working on the various chapters? What thought processes are you experiencing, or what emotions really get that pen moving or those fingers clicking?
Well, it's just the simple fact of I go back to when I was a little girl, depending on the chapters that I'm writing on, or a teenager, and I begin to feel that emotion again. Like it just all comes out. So sometimes it could be happy, sometimes it could be sad, sometimes it could be a mixture of all, depending on the day and what I decide to write on. And I have to tell you, the idea came about it in the beginning of the pandemic, because before the pandemic and before the shutdown, I was experiencing really bad writer's block. And I was like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And my mom's like, well, you should write a book about why you advocate. I mean, you're no longer the girl that's grieving. You're now a woman now. So you just need to focus on that. Plus, you have various articles published about cerebral palsy and how you live your life. So
Okay, so writing is not new. I mean, even before James and the Ticking Time Bomb, you've also published some articles. Where can we find these articles?
on my website, the Mighty Thought Catalog and Unwritten.
Okay, so the Mighty Thought Catalog and the Unwritten.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Yahoo Lifestyle as well.
Oh wow. Okay, excellent. I guess going back there, I know I'm jumping a little bit here, but I'm just finding it so fascinating that you're very well published. So, what inspired you to start writing articles? Because I know a lot of people, they journal and they write that way, but they're either self-conscious or they really struggle with putting their word out there for others to read. So what prompted you to do that?
Well, unfortunately, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, is that there's not a lot of awareness about CP, and we often face the misconceptions. One of them being that cerebral palsy only lasts through childhood. And as I was getting older, I started seeing all these cracks in the system, and I'm like, I need to write articles about this situation and being an adult with cerebral palsy because this is ridiculous.
And so if you wouldn't mind me mining that a little bit, what cracks are out there that maybe someone who is more able-bodied like myself wouldn't see?
Well, for one thing, the insurance and physical therapy. Like as a kid, I used to get physical therapy for a full 2 hours a week. Now, insurance only pays for 30 minutes of physical therapy, and I only get 6 sessions a year.
Have you ever heard a reasoning for that? Because it seems like the older you get, the more important exercise is for the human body.
Yeah, and insurance told me a bogus reason. They told me it was because some of the exercise you can do at home, but I'm like, I still need the physical therapy because I don't have all the equipment in my house, and insurance doesn't cover all proper equipment.
Hmm. That is unfortunate because the person on the other line probably isn't as well versed in CP as you are, and
Exactly.
they're just a talking head for someone else who made that policy. Well, have you seen any changes made because of your articles, or at least has anyone really picked up the article and taken it further?
Yeah, like I've seen parents come together and share my articles and share them with the state. I've actually got a couple of parents who emailed me and said, "Thank you for writing this article," because I shared it with my child's therapist and they were allowed to get me more time. So I'm very thankful for that
That is
experience.
awesome. That's it's I'm very proud of you for being an advocate for others, because it is, it's good to speak for yourself, but when you're able to use your voice for the benefit of others, that's what humanity is all about.
Yep.
And
And
go ahead. I'm sorry. Hi.
that's what advocacy is all about too. Like people think that you just need to advocate for yourselves, and I'm like, no, I advocate for not only me but for the next generation, because there's more people going to be diagnosed with CP. There's a parent right now hearing the news that their child has CP because every 1 second a child gets diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow. I
So
didn't
right
know it was that prevalent.
So right now, as we're talking, a parent's getting the most devastating news of their lives, according to the doctors, and they're hearing all these negative medical terms about it. Like if it were up to the doctors and I were to follow the stigmas, I would probably never walk, never talk, never even learn how to type on a keyboard and physical fitness as well.
And just to take it back a bit, for those in the audience who may not know what CP or cerebral palsy is, can you explain that?
Cerebral palsy is a neurological condition that affects one part of the brain or both parts of the brain, and it varies from person to person.
And that stems from a lack of oxygen during the prenatal process, correct?
Correct. And sometimes it could be the umbilical cord, but the most common one is lack of oxygen.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's wonderful that you're able to advocate for others, and they've actually have taken your articles and had received some change from it. So I'm looking behind you, and I see, it looks like it says cerebral palsy, and it looks like a footprint. What is that all about?
That is my stomping on CP logo. I'm sorry you couldn't see the stomping part of it, but that is my logo for my advocacy page called Stomping on Cerebral Palsy. And my mission is to spread awareness for those who don't understand what CP is and make a difference in the society so that I can help others stomp on the stigmas and stomp on CP altogether.
Wow. And so what now, is there a web? I'm guessing there's a website along with the podcast.
Yes, there is a website, www.stompingoncp.com. I have my own website, www.tyliaflores.com, and I do have a Facebook page called Stomping on Cerebral Palsy with Tylia.
That's fantastic. How long have you been doing your podcast for?
I've been doing my radio show for about 2 years.
Okay, I'm sorry, radio show. Wow, that's
about
great.
2 years. I originally started in a radio station in Virginia, but then I moved over to Asheville FM, and it's been an amazing experience ever since. And it's really cool to be a radio DJ and just spread awareness through advocacy, but play country music at the same time. It's really awesome.
That's pretty cool. Do you adopt the radio voice? Hey, welcome to Asheville FM. This is Ty.
Yeah,
with the traffic.
Yeah, that's usually me on every other Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I really didn't think that my radio show was making a difference until recently. I get an email from a lady who had an 8-year-old son with cerebral palsy, and they were listening to my Halloween special, and she was like, "Wow, that really resonated with me and my son. Thank you."
Wow, and so tell me about this Halloween special, because the only other Halloween special that I can think of is War of the Worlds, and I'm not sure if that is the same thing. I don't think you're talking about world domination by aliens, were you?
No. I think aliens are cool, but they don't. Cerebral palsy and aliens aren't a common thing. Unfortunately, I think it would be cool. But
Yeah.
no, the Halloween special was I wanted to share my experience as a trick-or-treater in a wheelchair and give parents some tips on what they could do if they had a child with CP, or if somebody in the neighborhood had CP that a person knew. And I got to play some Thriller and some Nightmare Before Christmas music, and it was awesome.
That's fantastic. I just love the way you're able to combine both the message and the advocacy and just fantastic Halloween music.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Another episode I liked this time of year was the Christmas special. That one was fun too.
Okay, and so what kind of tips would you give during the Christmas special?
The tips I would give is like find activities that are adaptable for your family member with cerebral palsy or any disability, because it could get stressful for us, especially if we travel and we move to a different environment. The second thing is have fun. The third thing is create memories.
Okay, and so what are some of your favorite ways of creating memories, Ty?
My favorite ways of creating memories with my family and friends in general is just traveling the world despite the scars that I have, and telling the story of how I got these scars on my legs and how they made me into a warrior.
Okay, I don't think we've hit on that yet. Are the scars related to CP?
Yes, because when I was 6, I was born with a dislocated hip, and that's common for people with CP. And what wound up happening was that doctors encouraged my parents for me to get the surgery when I was young to prevent the issue of having it dislocated when I was older. Well, we did the surgeries. Everything was fine the first year, but when I went into my teenage years, my hip got dislocated again. And now I have a scar on my left thigh that's like in the shape of a multiplication sign. It's very ironic because I don't like math, but when I tell the story, it's fantastic.
Well, we actually have something in common, something else in common, because I too have a scar on my left thigh from my ordeal, because the doctors had to extract a 15-inch by 4-inch flap of skin from my left thigh and place it on my right forearm and
Yeah,
hand.
I've seen it on your pictures and stuff, and that's why I thought you were cool. I was like, this guy's cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so that's interesting that we have something else in common. So, when you plan out these shows, do you plan them out months in advance, or is it like, okay, next week is a Christmas special, I gotta do this and this and this, or how scheduled out are you?
You know what's funny? I planned shows out a month before.
Okay.
And due to the pandemic, I cannot travel to Asheville right now to get studio time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I send Asheville the zip file, and that's how they get the shows.
All right. Okay. Do you think after the pandemic lifts and we're back to quote unquote normal, that's what you'll be doing? Or are you itching to get back into the studio?
I'm itching to get back into the studio and just travel the world. I miss traveling. That was my way of coping with CP2, and the pandemic kind of stripped that away.
Yeah, lots of people, myself included, really do miss being able to get on an airplane safely and fly. What is your favorite place to travel to? If you could pick a place right now to go to, where would you go?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one because I would go to two different places. I would go to New York for the pizza, and I would go to Philly just to
Okay.
just to see the Rocky Stairs again and have a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, and go to Gallenberg, Tennessee, and visit some of my favorite shows, museums like Cooter's Place and the Andy Griffith Museum. I'm an old soul, so
Oh wow, that sounds great. Have you ever been overseas, or maybe visiting our neighbors to the north or south?
Well, I've been to Mexico and the Bahamas.
Okay.
And you just reminded me in the Bahamas there's like a Starbucks Frappuccino that is coconut.
Oh,
And I'm
really?
and I'm dying to go back and get some. So thank you, Chris.
Well, I'm glad I could help you, or I'm sorry that I'm tormenting you.
Oh, no problem.
So besides the upcoming book on advocacy, what else do you have planned? And I guess besides the radio show as well.
What
What's next for Ty?
what's next for me is to go into motivational speaking, actually, and being a motivational speaker and spreading my message all around the world that despite the obstacles you face, you have to keep on stomping on cerebral palsy.
That's fantastic. I know I myself am in that realm, and despite the pandemic, I'm working on ways to use my own message to reach others, and I really applaud you. Many people think that, well, what is my voice worth? Why should I speak out? There's so many others talking. But like you said earlier, when that parent thanked you for your story about Halloween, you never know who is going to resonate with your voice.
Yeah, you never know. That's why I always tell people from an author standpoint, we're all authors of our own lives, and I'll be dang it if I let somebody else take control of the pen of the chapters that I'm writing in my book. So just embrace the ride and be who you are. So what if you have the scar, you know, or a battle wound? You're a soldier in your own way. So in
And
that aspect,
I was just going to ask you if you had some words of wisdom for someone who needed some motivation, and there you go. You have any other pearls of wisdom to share?
the only pro and wisdom that I have left to share is just be who you are and you'll reach the stars and you'll reach the mountain. As long as you keep climbing it, you'll get to the peak, you know. So don't give up and keep on stomping.
Awesome. Thank you, Ty. And one more question that my audience loves to learn the answer to. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, T-Rex.
And why T-Rex?
That was the most popular dinosaur in Jurassic Park, and I absolutely love that ride at Universal Studios, and I love that movie. So
Well, awesome. You can't go wrong with powerful jaws and really strong legs. So,
yeah,
and a tail to balance him out, because I without that tail, she'd be tipping right over. So,
yeah. I could be a T-Rex if I wanted to. So
well, there you go. So Ty, where can people find you again?
you could find me on Facebook at Stomping on Cerebral Palsy with Tylia. You could find me on Instagram at Stomping on CP with Tylia, and you could find me on Twitter at Stomping on CP01.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ty. I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to reach out to find me and see what I'm up to, you can find my Linktree site at linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon. You'll find my podcast, the YouTube channel, my speaking websites, my Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, my link to the book Blue Talks Presents Business Life in the Universe, Volume 3, as well as a couple other little surprises. Please like, subscribe, share this episode and other episodes so people can get the word out about the inspirational stories that so many wonderful soldiers, as Ty put it, have to share. And thank you very much for your time. Please have a great day. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.